Hello my fellow pilots, and welcome again to another episode of Star Citizen FM. My name is
Dr. Bees!
Otherwise known as Dr. Hawk to the rest of you. Welcome again, as I've mentioned previously, so join me as I recap Wingmans Hangar episode 22. Few interesting tidbits today as we go over the week in review. We have two new team members, one of them being Chelsea Ende, who will be helping Sandy, and I have no doubt we will be meeting her in the future, along with Ron LaJoy, the new product manager, who will be cracking the whip and ensuring that everybody is working at their optimum pace. As well, Wingman is to be congratulated on now 21 pounds below his starting weight. So again, next time you see him, or if you feel the need, send him a message or give him a pat on the back. Again, as I've mentioned before, this is a commendable goal, and we are all to send scotch. All of us, every single one of us, he is going to have 100,000 plus bottles of scotch, or if I look at the numbers now, almost 200,000. So there you go, Wingman. You have quite the treasure pile ahead of you if you reach your target goal. Good for you, Wingman. We're proud of you, and keep up the good work. Some of you also are familiar with Pete Mackey, our ever-charming and ever-happy weather wizard. To those of you who are familiar with the MakeAWish Foundation, Pete Mackey is doing the craziest thing I have ever heard of, although something I would gladly do myself. He is going to be rappelling off the side of a building, although at first I thought jumping, for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and I believe every person that he can attract to jump, or at least rappel, is about $1,500 American. As this is from what I'm gathering, so it goes up from there. So another person is another $1,500. That'd be $3,000 for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. The Make-A-Wish Foundation is a very commendable charity. Gives kids in need the opportunity to do things they might not otherwise when diagnosed with terminally ill diseases or other situations that might prevent them from enjoying life like some of us can. So support Pete Mackey in his endeavor to make sure that every one of these kids can receive the wish that they so desperately want and deserve. Another interesting highlight, and something some of you should be aware of, Black Widow Company got to go visit the guys at Cig. If you've taken a look at the com link, and there should be a link above now, only a few seconds because I do want to go over this later, there was a sneak peek of the Hangar Module, and while they were over there they got to hang out, sign a few things, and from the looks of it, do some sort of salute or standing. I don't actually know what that is, so it looks like they had a lot of fun. Black Widow Company, it's good to see you hanging out with the crew. Glad to hear you guys had a lot of fun, and I will go over the Hangar Module video for later. And lastly, Brian Brewer and company are getting ready to set up the pipeline and everything they need for the Mocap Studio. So again, if we get them to $10 million, that means that instead of having to constantly pay for their own mocap, equipment or rentals, etc., Cig will have their own mocap studio and equipment at their disposal for all their mocapping needs. This is full dynamic recording, so that's face, movement, body, everything. Basically setting up a play and acting it out in a video game environment to make the cutscenes and games that we are now familiar with. And in fact, the recent examples I can think of are Red Dead Redemption, Mass Effect, and Uncharted. In fact, Wingman himself mentioned those, and I'm kind of just cheating. So again, once the live stream commences, or coming up, and even then, throw some money at Cig. A mocap studio I think would do them well. And that wraps up our week in review, so let us move on to forum feedback. You guys came up with some great questions for this week's forum feedback, with the first coming from Mouse number 4, or Mouse no 4, however you say it. His question being, nobody in chat wanted to explain to me what the black rectangular board in the latest Wingmans Hangar was meant to mean. I don't get it. Well, Mouse, you see it started out here, and then it sort of went from there, and a little bit here and there, and pretty much now it is a running CIG joke. So, or a meme. This is an in-meme, if you want to call it that. So there you go. I hope that answers your question, and I hope you are no longer confused. Furious was the next to ask, on the last episode you mentioned the Austin office team was going to watch Star Trek Into Darkness, which is awesome, by the way. Did you guys enjoy it? Did it provide any new ideas or inspiration for you? According to Wingman and Company, it was fun. It brought the team together. They got to experience some awesome sci-fi. And even if the movie was not super close to the original, there was enough nods and entertainment to be had to, ensure a fun experience. I'm not going to ruin spoilers or ruin it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but I'm personally not a huge Trekkie myself. That's not saying I don't like it, just haven't watched a lot. And I enjoyed it thoroughly. The new spin that J.J. Abrams is doing is pulling me in, and I actually would get into Star Trek more now. So go check out Star Trek Into Darkness. I'm pretty sure it inspired, and if anything, entertained the team. Furious. Our lovely friend Heartsblade came on to ask, any official word on players-submitted decals? And I know this has been a hot topic for a few of us in the community. They are still trying to work them out, the main issue being if there's, say, 200 or so ships in a server, and each ship has a custom decal, that's one more texture per ship that the server is going to have to load, and that's who knows what kind of texture system they'd use. If it's like Forza's library system, which you have 1,000 layers, or Call of Duty Black Ops simple 10-layer decal system. Regardless, it still adds a server load loading all those custom images, so until they figure out how to do it without killing the game, which I'm pretty sure they will, we have all faith in you, CIG. Custom decals are TBD, so no official answer on that yet, Heartsblade. Sorry, boss. The next question comes from Nameless Space, wanting to know if there will be some kind of mini carrier that will be able to hold 3 or 5 ships, and possibly be purchasable for a large number of credits. Wingman went on to say that given that the I can't even say that, somebody correct me, that the Idris already holds 2 to 3 fighters, we should be pretty good for now, and given that this game is only 2 years away, there's stuff coming up that we will like. Those are Wingman's words himself. So, Nameless, you might have your supercarrier in space. Hyper Chopper wanted to know, if you hop out of your turret to repair the ship, will you be able to do full repairs, minor repairs, etc.? And also, how much will we be able to decorate our ships given the time will we be spending in them? Well, that's fairly interesting decoration, but point aside, according to Wingman, the repair bots and NPCs will be the focus of repairs during the game. I still don't know if you will actually be able to jump out yourself and repair. He says no, but at the same time, even if it's something simple, it's just fixing something, who knows? I don't know if that's a definite no or for certain no. But for now, repair bots, your little R2-D2, and the NPCs you hire will be the priority. They'll be running around smashing things with wrenches, making it look like they're doing something. And perhaps if it gets really bad, you might just have to take it to a station or hangar, or float in space because you actually got that shut up. As for decoration, again, that's probably related to the decal question. It still has to be worked out, how much room they have for it, TBD until known. So I hope that answers your question, Hyper. Wild Thing wanted to know if there will be any official fleets, corporations, guilds, or squadrons that the development team may join or lead that we as a community will also be able to join. As far as Wingman and the CIG staff are concerned, they will not lead any squadron or lead anything. They plan to be targets, but for now, that's the primary focus, is they get to be targets. And I might just say myself, come on Wingman, we need a CIG super squad. Take the Eve route and give yourselves Jovian ships with laser beams that insta-kill any player that they see. Be the gods of your universe. Or at least I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think it'd be fun. Send us players running in a scurry as soon as the devs appear. Hope that answers your question, Wild Thing. Our next questioning comes from M. Palman, who is a little concerned about boredom. He says the Star Citizen universe is exciting, but sometimes things get boring while you wait for a friend to arrive, etc. Will there be forms of entertainment, etc. while we wait for our friends? According to Wingman and Company, there will be minigames, as they've mentioned before, but they are not yet ready to announce what kind. The only form that I could answer myself is likely an arcade that they've mentioned that they've had in the previous Wing Commander games, etc. As for anything else, from racing to running and playing tag in your constellation, I have no idea and I cannot provide any information on that. So until then, TBD. I hope that answers your question, M. Palman. Our next community question comes from Manic, wanting to know what are the plans for weapon convergence, if any. Would we be able to adjust weapon convergence to our preference? To those of you who are not familiar with the concept of weapon convergence, this is the concept that involves taking the weapons that would be mounted on, say, an aircraft, and pivoting them ever so slightly, say a degree or so, towards each other so that the bullets or projectiles meet at a given point. This aids in targeting and ensures that more projectiles hit their mark instead of, say, one hitting and one missing. To answer the question, no, Wingman says that this will be an adjustable value. You will be able to customize your convergence to your own preferences, and possibly, this is me speculating, to the different weapon types that we will have in Star Citizen. Good question, Manic. Look forward to more questions from you. Our next question comes from Oculus Solus, and he phrased his question as so. Jump point navigation, resource scans, and salvage location data are a significant portion of any explorer's income, but there are other types of information that are potentially more valuable and dangerous. Will trafficking information be a viable pursuit? According to Wingman, this has actually been something they've looked into. They like the idea of eavesdropping and espionage, and the possibility of, messing around a bit. At the same time, that has a high troll potential, and the high possibility of creating negative experiences in Star Citizen. So at this point, the answer is maybe. It's something in the works, but nothing yet has been defined or worked out. So sorry to disappoint Oculus Solus if that's not what you wanted to hear, but at the same time, keep an ear to the ground for anything you might hear in the future. Our second last question comes from Sengar, wanting to know, the preview of the Hangar Module, and I said I'll cover it, is so good. What is the plan with storage/access to larger player ships that won't fit in the hangar? Well, according to Wingman, there will be much bigger, larger hangars, so keep an eye out for more of that in the future. In fact, a little snippet that he mentioned was something about needing transportation for such a large space. Be this a little scooter or a little car you get to drive around, or maybe you just jump out in space and thruster your way to the under end of the hangar. Don't know for certain. But keep an ear to the ground. I'm interested to hear what they have to say in the future. And lastly, we have a question from our famous Legante. And judging by what he's doing, it looks like he's messing with somebody's ship. His question revolves around the topic, though, if you find a ship that's not exactly yours. Say, it's a pirate's, and a failed boarding happened, and you now have a pirate-registered ship that the UEE would shoot on sight. What can you do? Can you turn it into the UEE, refurbish it, sell it, etc.? Or is it pretty much just to be trashed and no good? According to Wingman, the answer is yes, 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 and yes. So let's work over this a little bit. Apparently you will be able to hide ships, so stolen ships, just like a stolen car, can be hidden. It doesn't immediately have to be blasted by the UEE, so that already says for pirates that they'll be able to get away with, say, somebody's Hornet or Constellation. At the same time, you could turn them in, maybe to the UEE for profit or reward, so you're in good standing, etc. There's no in-depth ideas yet, but at the same time a yes to all, so I don't think the good guys have to worry so much about what they do if they suddenly have a stolen ship on their hands. There will be plenty of options available, Legante, and hopefully whatever you messed up there doesn't end up biting you in the butt in the future. One can only hope not, right? And that pretty much wraps up our forum feedback. So let us move on to MVP, Wide World News, the interview, and a few other announcements I have. This week's MVP is sort of a 2-for-1 deal. The first is actually sort of a little tip of the hat to our community member Pleasure. As some of you should know, after a short leave of absence, he has reappeared once again like a phoenix rising from the flames. And even myself I have to thank for his work. He supplied the little Squadron 42 logo that you see rotating on the lower right screen, as well as designing Wingmans Hangar logo, the hat that you see Brittany wearing, and a few other things. He is also the only man I know so far, mind you, and you can gladly send in pictures to prove me wrong. He is the only man I know who has already inked himself with the Squadron 42 logo, and I don't know if he's actually done other tattoos. So again, props to Pleasure, good to see you back, and good to have you with us once again. However, this week's MVP goes to Grim Death, who started the thread, just got my citizen card. The idea of this thread being that you may go there and post when you get your citizen card. From what I can gather in the forums, those in Europe are getting their cards first, given the proximity to China. So as you get your citizen cards, please post them in Grimdepth's post, and we can keep track of how many citizens are now physically citizens of Star Citizen. I wonder if I should say that 5 times fast. Congratulations, Grim Death and Pleasure. In this week's Wide World News, 30 years ago, Ronald Reagan proposed the Strategic Defense Initiative. The idea was to have a defense system capable of eliminating any ballistic missile threat or any other threat that would otherwise threaten the North American hemisphere. This was actually called Star Wars at the time, given its technologically impossible goals and the overall sci-fi wackiness to it. However, nowadays, the shipboard Aegis system can successfully track a missile, lock onto it, and destroy it with a kinetic charge. Systems like this could likely see much more use, and have no doubt already actually been pushed into service. A few episodes ago, a few of you might remember my mention of the Navy's Laser Weapon System, otherwise known as LAWS. I would not be surprised if the Aegis system is being developed to work alongside LAWS, or vice versa, being that both systems are designed to counter threats. So there is a little bit of science fiction right now in the real world operating right in front of our eyes, so I really don't think that we can call it science fiction anymore, can we? And on this day in space, or in my time yesterday, May 25th, 1961, John F. Kennedy begins his famous speech of sending a man to the moon. Despite criticism and amid the Cold War, Kennedy vowed to see a democratic flag on the moon over the communist USSR. We choose not to do this because it is easy, but because it is hard. Words that, sadly, he would not get to see recognized 7 years later as Neil Armstrong famously steps on the moon for the first time. And I think it's because of this determination that we now have the space program that we have today. And Chris Hadfield. Chris Hadfield is a badass. Can't go wrong with Chris Hadfield. And that wraps up our Wide World News and This Day in Space. Lastly, we have our interview with Tom Sawyer, a new server programmer for CIG. As I've mentioned before, I'm not doing the whole interviews, as you guys can easily watch it on the comlink, which should be above. So if you want to check out the full interview, you can. However, I did take a few bullet points. The main one being that he will be responsible for making sure we suffer no capital letters lag whatsoever in Star Citizen. So Tom Sawyer, you are responsible for making sure that there is no lag in Star Citizen. So There you go. No pressure, boss. Other interesting notes, he's worked on Starhawk and PlayStation All-Stars, both games which I have tried and enjoyed. And a few of the points that are gone over here, the shard-based server system. He's a avid surfer. Also a very competitive PvPer in both first-person shooters and games in general. I'm pretty sure I heard a mention of World of Warcraft in there somewhere. And the other point of interest was that they are already doing 16-player dogfights in Star Citizen. So progress is being made somewhere. So if you'd like to check out the full interview with Tom Sawyer, go click on the com link and take a look. And now, let us move on to next week and a few announcements and sponsorships, so to speak. Next week, we have the Vanduul on the Comlink, which actually is on the internets right now. So if you're interested in checking that out, there should be a link right now above my head that you can click and check out. This is actually the work in progress page that was released for Jump Point subscribers, I believe a few weeks ago, if not a few months ago. And also Pete Mackey will be on next week, so the morose, sad, depressed weather wizard himself will be grilled by the Wingman. And if I have my dates correctly, today, on May 26th, is Chris Roberts' birthday, and as far as I know, he is in Europe celebrating with friends and family. So next time you see him in the chat roll, on the forum, and in fact I believe there's a forum post for it, go wish Chris Roberts a happy birthday. I think it's well deserved, and yeah, give the man a happy birthday. Also, for those of you who are interested in the 24-hour live stream, the date has been set. They are confident enough that it's going to take place from Friday, June 28th through Saturday, June 29th. The stream will begin at 11 AM CST, and it will air with Wingmans Hangar as usual, but will fall through for the next 24 hours. So, get your panties ready, your rum, filled, and get ready to party, I guess. So there you go, mark it off in the calendars and be ready for the 24-hour live stream. Also, I'd like to make out a few announcements to both community members I've seen working hard, as well as something else I wanted to announce. A few of you have probably seen by now, I actually was very lucky to have an interview with Chris Roberts, the man himself. Again, Chris, thank you very much. It is much appreciated and was a pleasure talking to you. I have a big thanks to say to Shigo. Shigo, you're probably going to kick me in the butt because I can't say your last name. Shigo Karando and Zane, our feathery space raptors, for helping organize that. So again, thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Chris. I look forward to talking in the future, and any other devs that want to sit down for a hawk view, so to speak. Another point of focus I'd like to make, to those of you that remember Lancaster and Company on the forums and chat roll, they have started up Beyond the Horizon Radio. This is a radio stream that's pretty much streaming all the time with fresh broadcasts every Saturday at noon Eastern at 1600 GMT. So if you'd like to tune in to Beyond the Horizon Radio, be sure to check them out on Saturday and tell them Dr. Hawk sent you. It's very encouraging to see the community come up with so many different sources of both news, entertainment, and support. So good on you guys at Beyond the Horizon, and who knows, maybe I'll stop in one day and bug you guys, or just squawk incessantly. I'd also like to go over the Hangar Module. So some of you by now have probably already seen this video that should be playing above. If you haven't, I highly encourage you to go check out the com link. Now, when I say go over, there's not really much I can go over aside from the go look at this because it's so gorgeous. The Hangar Module itself looks like it's coming along quite nicely. No custom player decals or anything visible, but it actually does provide a nice sense of scale and both lighting for the us the players for the ships. They got the Aurora, they got the Hornet, the 300i. It's pretty good to finally see these ships in scale and not just sitting, in space with nothing as a reference. So I don't know if they'll let you climb around on it, you know, maybe hang off one of the cannons and just wrap your legs around, hang upside down. But come around the hangar module, and when we can customize it and have fun, it should be interesting. And especially when Wingman mentioned the probability of larger hangars. I'm envisioning soccer field sized, I don't know, really big hangars that you can play tag in, because I would really like to see that happen. And also I would still like to be able to make my fort, because Fort Kickass needs to be built. And I will not rest or die happy until I am able to do so with my ammo crates. And lastly, I would like to make a quick spotlight for Exile, our proud serving serviceman who is both present in the forums and the chat roll. I have had him on my show before for an interview, and as some of you are familiar with, he is quite the artist when it comes to both 2D art as well as writing. This is more of a focus to his written fiction called the Scipio. So if any of you are interested in the insider look of the lives of a carrier crew, which ironically are made up of pretty much almost every member in the chat roll, you can check out his fiction, which describes the life aboard a Bengal carrier as it carries out its mission in hostile territory. I believe he's about 35 chapters in, last I checked. And according to him, he's been busy lately, but the story is definitely going to ramp up. So take a look at the Scipio and tell me what you think, and give Exile some constructive feedback and give him a thumbs up. And that pretty much wraps up any announcements or things I had to say. So I'd like to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to Star Citizen FM. If you guys are interested in subscribing, you can click the fuzzy hawk picture below you to subscribe to my channel and give me constructive feedback via comments or likes. And I will see you guys next time on Star Citizen FM. You guys take care and fly safe.